Good evening. So excited to be back again. Tuesday team call. We're trying a little bit of a different format and changing things up a little bit because sometimes we just need a little bit of a shift, right? And so tonight we're going to do another version of that. And I'm excited to have a story tonight. Susanna has been in Plexus for some time and she shared her story with me, and I thought it was very, very good. And I'm very excited for her to be sharing that with you guys tonight. And as always, just want to remind you, this is the safest place for you to bring your story. So if you have something that you're feeling like this has been a major thing for me in my health journey, in my business journey, then come to us and say, hey, should I share this? Because we don't always know what is going on in your life, or, if there's things happening. And we love to share that inspiration with everybody. Because if you're anything like me, I am so inspired when other people share their victories and things that are happening in their life. And I know that that is how others feel also when we share. And so here we are. Susanna, if you can unmute yourself, you can start sharing.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Very good. Yes.
Okay, well, I have been a nervous wreck today, but I made it here. So I'm going to begin with my story. I wrote it up some papers. So it was about 7 years ago that I did try Plexus for the first time, and I did see some results and got distracted, not consistency in anything. And so I got distracted with another company, or actually two different companies. And I just noticed that I always thought of Plexus, even though I was using that. I did not really see any results with that. So then after, sorry, I was just reading right here a bit.
Take your time. It's all good.
Okay, so after I wanted to look into the second company that I was looking into, then I felt just like something was missing and it kind of didn't feel right. And so I thought I would pray and hope for something to feel better. So I give it a few days, and then I just thought, huh, Plexus just comes to my mind right away. And so that's when I felt like, okay, Plexus is the answer. So then I started with Plexus, and I was only on Plexus for about 4 months consistently. And then I noticed, it was actually before that that I noticed some other women were saying that their sugar cravings were gone after using it for a couple of months. And then I was actually hoping for the same thing. And before I knew it, it was 4 months, and I was like, huh, my sugar cravings are gone. And I don't really love sugar anymore. Like it's every now and then for a little weekend snack or whatever. And then it felt so amazing that I had no sugar cravings at all. And then I started with carnivore diet for 6 weeks. And meanwhile that I was um in an exercising class, and for some other things that I wanted to get better with. And it was all so much fun. It was very much out of my comfort zone, but it was so much fun. I felt so amazing. I felt amazing, like really good. But after those exercise sessions, they were over. It was just for about 6 weeks, I believe. And then I had a crash, a meltdown with myself and my baby. So it was about 4 months that me and my baby really struggled. And I thought, well, I wasn't getting to the gym. I wasn't feeling any good. So after she was starting to sleep at least a few hours a night, I started to get back on my routine again. And over that time, I got really bad anxiety and a really bad IBS symptoms and so on. And after I got into that schedule again, I started feeling so much better. I could feel everything getting back into order again. It's amazing how much it can do. So once I was back at the gym, it was very, very hard to get started again. And sorry, I just read here a bit. Oh, and through all this time, I was still using Plexus consistently every single day and still avoiding sugar. And my anxiety actually went away like it was so good after that. I could feel amazing, like how much it had improved. And also my IBS, it was day by day, I just saw the improvement. It was amazing to see it. I had never seen that results anywhere. And then the best part, like before, what was it? Probably about over a year ago, I did actually have a heart surgery that, well, it was not really a surgery, but um, no, what's it called again? Laser surgery, something like that. And that was because my heart was always not working well, always beating fast. I was always on prescription medication for that. And then I had this surgery thing. And then they told me that it wasn't what they had thought it was. So then it was like really disappointing to go through all that without having that fixed. But then it was a really good doctor, and he told me just use something natural and what can support your health, heart health. And then I knew right away what I wanted to do. I would take Mega X and I would take Hydrate. And once I took those two, I have not ever had anything since then. So that has been so amazing, like life-changing for me because I had my heart problem since I was 17. And now finally I've figured it out what it needs. And then, so through all this, using Plexus for however long, the thing I wanted this last year was I wanted to lose 40 pounds because I was so much overweight because of my last two pregnancies was horrible and a lot of difficulties. And so through all of this, I have lost 36 pounds, no, 37 pounds and 6 inches. It has felt amazing. I'm feeling like a new person here. So that was very, very exciting that I could actually do that because I thought I would never be able to be that person again that I was when we got married. And now I'm actually at the same pounds again that we got married. So that is very good. And over this time that I have been doing all this, I have been talking to some people and they have been seeing my results. They ask me, what are you doing? And when I tell them what it has took me to come this far, nobody is willing to put in that work. That's what I notice. Everyone wants the results, but they want it now and then. And that's what I've noticed. It has took me a long time, but I was dedicated to take my health to another level because I was not in a good spot. So it has took me almost a year to get this far with very consistency. And I think I have only been missing the gym for probably about a month over the time that I was in a breakdown with my little baby. So only over that time I was not at the gym. Besides Sunday, I guess I'm having a rest day. But all the rest of the time, I was at the gym no matter how hard it was. And I always get up in the morning at 5 and go to the gym because that's my only time that I can get up without having a babysitter because my husband goes to work at 6. So that has been working very nice for us. So I've been very happy with all that. But yeah, I think that's all I have.
I feel like I'm in awe. Guys, I don't know about you, but I didn't get up at 5 in the morning when I had babies. And Susanna has 4 children. And so you can imagine her house is busy. She has school kids as well. And to set the tone that you decide that my health as a mother matters, right? Like you have changed the future of your family. Like that's what happens when we moms take control of our health. That's so amazing. Thank you so, so much for sharing that. And like I asked her, I would love her to share that in the Wellness Collective as well, that we can share that with other friends as well, because it's so inspiring. We know that it takes hard work to get better, right? We didn't get there overnight, and you're not going to get back overnight. And then to have that mindset helps others see that I can do this too. I can be that person who decides this matters and I'm going to do it. So thank you again. Very, very special that you shared that with us. Penny, see, that's exactly how it happens. Penny said, I just signed someone up today who could really benefit from her testimony. And that's how we share stories, and that's why it matters, right? So if this is something that you feel like you want to do, share your story here and then get it out in written form. That's often the starting point of where people are like, oh, that's what she did. Okay, well, maybe I'm going to have to be a little bit more consistent. Like when I remember when I first started, which is going to be 11 years now, when I sat down to sign up, I remember committing to myself within my heart. I thought, Marge, you can't do this just for a little while. Like if you're going to do this, do it well. And I felt the heaviness of it because my family was suffering, I was suffering, my marriage was suffering, my job was suffering, because health is such a huge piece to every piece of your life. And I remember committing to myself that I could not stop this before a year. I had to be consistent for a whole year. And I think if people committed to themselves and understood the value of staying consistent, you heard Susanna say multiple times how consistent she had been. Like even your heart issues, when the body gets the right nutrition, it heals itself. It's so amazing. Here we are 11 years later. I committed to a year. I've never regretted a day of it. It's so, so worth it. All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to move on. I'm so glad to be home. I missed last week. I have a very hard time missing team call, but the time change in the different country and everything was a little bit hard. But we went to Jamaica for the Canadian only One Love Plexus trip. First time I'd ever gone on all Canadian trip. There was 49 earners with guests. So it felt like a very small group comparable to what I'm used to. And so I thought I'd share a couple of things tonight, a little bit on why this is happening, what the focus is, and that you guys can understand that this is for you, right? And so I'm looking at the screen. I believe we're all Canadians today. Yeah, I think we're all Canadians. We do have quite a significant chunk of Americans in our team. We never want to just isolate to one country because we are definitely in the process of opening even more countries. As per Kirby Zinger, I had some really good conversations with him this weekend. Him and his wife, Debbie, are just such an asset to us in Canada. He is the overseer of all international countries. So Mexico, Canada, and Australia. And he really, really encouraged me, stay focused on what you are doing with your team because it's working. Because it's working. Canada is doing the best of all the international countries. It's really, really exciting to see. And so if you remember 2 years back, I think I'm right, they had the very first Canadian incentive was called the Celebration, where they did the cruise in October, and then it was Leaders Retreat in November. And so we had a chunk of people on that trip as well. And they again took an incentive, put it out to just the Canadians and said, look, this is for you. Okay. And the reason is because Canada is such a vast, wide open country with a lot of distance in between. Geographically, we're so huge, excuse me, with not near the population as what the Americans have, right? And putting something together that you're having people earn a rewarding vacation across a whole country like that is very significant. And it's very, very appealing to a lot of people because it's a smaller group of people. It's country oriented. And it was very interesting to see there was a significant chunk of Easterners. If you haven't already noticed along the 2024 year, I feel like in every year, there's always pockets of people that are exploding in Plexus. You'll see all of a sudden there's a team over here that just explodes. They've got massive momentum, right? And all of a sudden there's going to be on the other side of the country, there's going to be teams over there that are really, really growing. For us in Canada this year, that was more Eastern Canada. Cindy Newman is the new diamond, and a large part of her team is also from Western Canada, but they originate from Eastern Canada. And so a lot of that really, really blew up. Just very exciting to see, because you know why that makes a difference is that solidifies that Canada is in need of what we have. And I feel like that's probably the biggest message that I can come forth with is in the USA, they're far more open with leniency on health products. They're far more open with leniency on ingredients. They're far more open with leniency on what you can talk about. Health Canada has quite strict regiments, and Plexus falls carefully under those. And that is why each product that we do have in our Canadian back offices have to be approved through Health Canada before we can actually have them in our back office, right? Now, granted, we're super grateful for the ones that are in the NFR, the personal use products from the US, but look at the massive amount that we already do have in Canada. I don't know of another company that does that. If you're going to walk into a health food store and start checking all those different companies and start checking all those different supplements, if you cannot find an NPH number, they haven't gone through the regiments that Plexus has. Just so you know, I've done it for curiosity's sake. I have asked the clerk at a health food store, which products do you have that have a natural health product number? An identification number, meaning that Health Canada has gone through the process, approved what was in it, and put it out for resale. All I've gotten is blank stares. They don't even know what that is. Here we are 10 steps ahead. That solidifies your business. That really makes it secure for what's, potentially going to happen for other companies if they don't have that, right? They can be shut down. They can be told that you can't sell this anymore. It can be taken away, like Sheila said. So we're so solid and so grounded already in Canada with such a solid support system. And that in itself, if you think about the health of Canadians, I mean, guys, look around. There's not a mom in Canada that doesn't need what we have, what we hold in our hands. And if you think of Susanna's story today, there's so many people out there that need to just take control of their health and understand that it's actually not that hard. We have products that focus on core being of health, right? And so that in itself is always super encouraging. Also, when you go on a trip like this, you understand that like attracts like, meaning as in Pauline is going to talk to people that she feels that she's comfortable with, her demographic of people that she relates to. That's going to create a cultural commoncy that they had, something that they have in common, right? And when you gather a few people together, say you have 3 or 4 and they become passionate about something, all of a sudden that 3 or 4 is 100. In a different demographic, maybe you have a different culture. Maybe you can see cultures across the teams in Plexus and they all fit in. Why? Because we all have the common need for core health. We all have that common need. Doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter. We have very traditional groups of women building big businesses. We have super educated people with university degrees building big businesses. That we all have the same common need, right? And so that in itself is also a piece that I saw here. In these 49 people that earned this trip, there was some that are medically educated and have a huge career, but they chose Plexus instead. Whereas you take a young mom that's at home with a couple of children and she earned just as much for this trip as what that educated person did. Do not ever discredit yourself. Don't ever discredit yourself that, oh, I don't think I can. Yes, you can. You know people that know you, and those people know people. And that's all that matters, right? Okay, so next up is, if you hadn't seen already, I think it's on the Plexus Canada page, I'm not totally sure. But next up is, next year they're going to go for a trip to Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. And that's a lot simpler for the West to get to. Super fun place. Puerto Vallarta, Mexico is a very fun, safe place to go. And it'll be in November again. And potentially we're talking about extending the contest a little bit longer to make it a little bit more achievable. And so since I'm a voice on the focus group, I said at the table, how about we increase those earners? I think we can do more than 50. Don't you think? Don't you think we can do more than 50 people across the country? Absolutely we can. Absolutely we can. So my little story on earning this trip this summer was purely a personal challenge. I don't know if you guys work this way. I always have. I value my business immensely. And I know that life will always happen. There's always something happening in life. It's been 11 years that I have been here and that I have helped people with their health. And there's been some significant things happen in my life along the way where if I wouldn't have dedicated myself to deciding that this business is a priority, then it would have gone wayside, because life gets busy. And if you don't stay consistent, something will always come up. It doesn't matter what stage or what season of life you're in, something will always come up where you're like, dang, I didn't do my IPA today. Oh, I haven't done any follow-up. Where do I start? Well, I haven't done this for such a long time. That's going to happen unless you decide to remain dedicated, to grow yourself and to stay consistent, right? And so I knew in spring that we were moving. And okay, guys, I don't know. Some of you might move in a week. It took us very long. We hadn't moved in 20 years. It's just me and John. We had excellent help, but still, it's a really big job to set up a whole new yard. And so I knew that would take a ton of my time and energy. And I thought to myself, I cannot let go of my personal habits and my own IPA just because my life is chaotic. And so I purposed and dedicated to myself that I would remain doing IPA and I would focus on having this trip as a goal, because who doesn't want to go to Jamaica in November? I knew that we would need some sunshine by then. And so come June, we had just moved in. We had just gone to convention. I still needed 6 more people. And I was like, on the way home from convention, I said to John, come on, I can get 6 people. We can go to Jamaica. And so we came home and I purposed to find 6 people, and I did. Because when you decide something, you don't give up on yourself. And it wasn't easy. It was hard. And contrary to your belief, it's harder for a diamond than what it is for any other rank. Because you've talked to a lot more people and you have a lot more responsibility in the business. And so I really, really purposed within myself that I feel like I should be doing this. I should be working towards this. And I can promise you it was worth it. It was really, really worth it. I just really regretted not having more of my team there. That's super important. You never want to go alone. So if you think about it now already, and you think about there's still time to earn leaders retreat, which is happening in February, you can already start thinking about going to Puerto Vallarta next year. Cora's cat is literally insane. She was at home alone for several days, so just ignore her in the background there. All right. I'm going to quickly wrap this up because Sheila's going to do the last half of IPA training again, which I feel, I don't know about you. I would love some feedback, but I love this piece of doing team calls, doing some work together, because you always feel like inspired after you've been sharing and listening to other people. And so for me, that helps. I would love to hear your feedback as well. Some upcoming news for what's all coming. Super Saturday is coming up fast. Oh, how crazy is that? We're talking 2025 already. Think about it. I feel like there's going to be some pretty fun announcements coming on that. It's always the first weekend of January. So prepare your minds for that. Free resets are still running. Yes, every Friday is having flash sales. Let's get as many people in to do free reset as what we can, because that's just, it's $117 free gift. It's crazy, so amazing. $1 membership still on, and the Gems of Detox is still going. That's been a really good challenge. Super informative, hey? It's been amazing to see the content. I know Jess and Bridget hold all this in their brains. I know them personally, and they're just a wealth of knowledge. So the fact that you're getting this is amazing. Book study will soon be announced. We have a little bit more discussions to talk about, but that's always a piece of growth that you can take in to grow yourself in order to be able to grow your business. So I'm going to wrap it up with that. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to hand it over to Sheila.
How wonderful was that? It's so good to see you guys all. I love Tuesdays. As Susanna was talking, my brain went back to my devotion this morning, and I shared a little bit about this in my stories, but I felt like I should share it here too, because what she said, it was so spot on. Now, this may not be for everybody, and if you are not of faith or anything, just take the practical advice out of this. That's my advice. But I was reading about a verse this morning, and it's let a man so consider us as ministers of Christ and stewards of the mysteries of God. Now, the word ministers in Greek, I love nerdy things, okay? The word ministers in Greek is actually the word hupateros. And basically, that word means that it conveys the essential attitude that is necessary to get a job done. So it's the essential attitude that you need to complete a job. But the cool thing about this word is that in classic Greek society, it was used to describe the lowest of the lowest of the low criminals, like the worst of the worst. That is what it was used to describe. And why this word was used is because these criminals, they were so not liked in society that society essentially cast them out. What they would do is they would take these criminals and put them in the galleys of their huge ships, and they would live there. And they were essentially the engine of the ship. Obviously, they didn't have engines back then, so they had rowers. And these criminals became the rowers, and that is what they did day in and day night out. That was their life. And there was no term to this sentence. It was a life sentence. A life sentence. And so when this word is used in this verse, essentially what it's saying is, don't expect your success to just be given to you. Put your hand to the oars and get to work. Don't expect to just lose 37 pounds because you're sitting on the couch. No, you're going to get up at 5 a.m. and you're going to go to the gym, even if you have 4 kids at home. You're going to make it work. That he wanted to really impart the severity of this. Like, what if you want to live within your purpose, it's not going to just be handed to you. It's not going to be easy. It is going to take hard work, and it is going to take commitment, and it is going to take dedication. And so I thought that was so applicable to Susanna's story tonight and to what we're going to do now. We're going to dive in and we're going to do that work. And it's not just the sending messages, it's the work in here that's the hardest, honestly. The stuff between the ears is the most difficult. That is why we have these book studies. That is why we do all this training. That is why we meet every Tuesday, because we're doing the work. Sometimes it feels like we're taking a few steps backwards, but honestly, that's when we grow the most. So, who's ready to talk to some people tonight? I know we had a lot of fun last week. From the conversations that you had last week, did we see any movement? I saw Penny sign somebody up. Yay, that's so exciting. I signed 2 people up right at the beginning of the month, and now I'm kind of having people sitting on the fence a little bit. So I would love to push them over the other side, pick a side, yes or no. So like we did last week, remember you wrote your list. We're going to continue working through that list. We're going to continue reaching out to people. And so the biggest thing is we take what we have to offer and we offer that. And right now, what we have to offer is the fact that we have free resets. It is an incredible value. It is an amazing value. All we have to say is when you order a combo like the triplex, you get a $117 reset for free. I just made a bunch of orders for Christmas. I didn't get 117 nothing for free. Like that is a huge, huge deal. So I'm going to put a few message examples, a few ideas into the chat. Pull out your lists from last week. Pull out your list that you've been working on for a while. It's always good to have a list. It's always good to have a notebook where you keep people's names, because let's be real, most of us, we don't have the capacity to keep everything in mind. We just don't. I would love to if I could, but I just can't. So I write down everything. So let's pull those out. I'm going to turn on some music and let's get to messaging. And then like last time, if you have any wins or any questions, or maybe you have a difficult message that you don't know how to answer, this is the place where we work through those kinds of things, because those often come up. Mom, did you stop recording or did I miss that?
It's still recording. Do you want me to stop?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.